Maya, he replied, his tone conflicted. I never meant to hurt you. I have a wife and a daughter. It's complicated. Something I've been trying to sort out for a long time. His admission cut through the fragile space between us like a shard of ice. My heart pounded in my chest, and for a moment, I felt the familiar warmth of his touch recede as reality sank in. All those stolen kisses, the gentle brush of his hand along my waist, and the nights we spent wrapped in each other's arms, were they built on a lie? Or was this the honest confession of a man torn between duty and desire? Before we start, thank you for coming to my channel. Your participation is my happiness. Let me know where you are and what time it is now. Okay, now let's get into the story. At 44, as a seasoned interior designer in Seattle, my life had become a carefully arranged blend of routines and subtle comforts. Yet beneath the polished surfaces and well-planned days, a quiet yearning for genuine connection lingered. A longing I'd tucked away after years of solitude following loss. One crisp autumn evening, seeking a touch of inspiration and escape, I ventured to a local art event where creativity mingled with the cool night air. The gallery was bathed in soft light and gentle music, its walls adorned with bold canvases and understated sculptures. As I wandered slowly through the exhibits, absorbing the interplay of shadows and color, I unexpectedly found myself drawn to a man standing near a striking installation. His name was Adrian, a 32-year-old photographer whose confident warmth shone through even in the dim glow of the room. His eyes held a spark of mischief and understanding that immediately captivated me. Our introduction was as natural as the art around us. He offered a gentle smile and said, I couldn't help but notice you seem deeply moved by these pieces. May I join you? His voice was soft yet inviting, and before I could muster a reply, our gazes locked in a silent acknowledgement of mutual intrigue. As we strolled from one exhibit to another, our conversation flowed effortlessly. We shared our interpretations of the art, our voices blending with the ambient hum of the gallery. At one point, while pausing before a particularly evocative sculpture, Adrian's hand brushed lightly against my waist. A subtle, unexpected touch that sent a warm ripple through me. In that brief moment, I felt a stirring of emotions I'd long thought dormant. A blend of comfort, excitement, and the fragile promise of something new. By the time the event drew to a close, the night had woven its quiet magic around us. Stepping out into the cool air, I carried with me not just memories of vibrant art and thoughtful words, but the undeniable impression that this encounter was the beginning of a transformative journey. In the soft echo of that first touch and the lingering smile on Adrian's face, I sensed the promise of renewal. A chance to rediscover passion and tenderness in a life that had grown too accustomed to routine. And so, under the city's starlit sky, I took my first step toward embracing the unexpected, ready to see where this new connection might lead. After our unexpected encounter at the gallery, I found myself haunted by the warmth of Adrian's smile and the gentle brush of his hand along my waist. Every detail of that night lingered like the soft glow of an afterimage, each memory both comforting and curiously unsettling. It wasn't long before his message arrived, inviting me to a quiet coffee meeting at a tucked-away cafe near Pioneer Square. Though my heart fluttered with anticipation, a subtle undercurrent of caution whispered that not everything was as simple as it seemed. That rainy afternoon, I stepped into the cafe with a blend of excitement and trepidation. The cozy interior, lit by dim Edison bulbs and the soft murmur of conversation, set the perfect stage for a new beginning. Adrian greeted me with an easy smile, his eyes reflecting a mix of sincerity and a hint of mystery. We settled into a secluded booth where the world outside, misty Seattle streets and drifting raindrops, seemed to pause for us. Our conversation flowed effortlessly from art to design, from our passions to our dreams. I found myself captivated not only by his keen insights into photography, but also by the vulnerability he shared in moments of silence. As we talked, there were fleeting instances when I asked about his personal life. At one point, while our hands nearly brushed as we reached for our coffee cups, I couldn't help but notice a small, framed photograph peeking from his wallet. In that photo were the smiling faces of a woman and a young girl, a glimpse that sent a shiver of uncertainty through me. Adrian's gaze shifted briefly, and though he quickly steered the conversation back to light-hearted anecdotes, that subtle detail lingered in my mind like an unanswered question. Later, as we strolled under the gentle drizzle along a quiet street, Adrian's hand found mine. The warmth of his touch, the steady beat of his pulse against my skin, made the cool rain feel like a distant memory. In a moment of tender intimacy, he pulled me into a lingering embrace that made time slow down. Our kiss, soft, exploratory, and filled with an unspoken promise, sealed that part of the evening as something transformative. Yet as I pulled away, a whisper of doubt crept in. Who were the people in that photograph? What responsibilities or secrets lay behind the charm I so eagerly embraced? Over the next few days, our messages became a constant presence in my daily routine. Adrian's words were gentle, playful, and full of a passion for life that made my own creative spirit stir awake. But whenever I inched toward asking more about his family or past, the conversation would shift, leaving a gap that pulsed with unspoken truths. That uncertainty gnawed at me quietly, even as my heart yearned for the connection we were nurturing. One evening, as the rain tapped steadily against my apartment window, I found myself scrolling through our exchanged photos. Amid snapshots of his latest projects and candid moments from his studio, I noticed another photograph, a close-up of his hand resting on a ring that gleamed in the soft light. My mind raced with questions. Was that ring a symbol of a promise already made? Was there more to Adrian than I had been led to believe? Despite these silent alarms, the pull toward him grew stronger. At his studio a few days later, in the subdued ambience of half-drawn curtains and scattered art supplies, he gently tucked a stray lock of hair behind my ear. His touch was tender, and for a fleeting moment, I let myself be lost in the intimacy of the moment. Lying in that soft glow with his comforting presence close by, I sensed that I was stepping into uncharted territory, a place where passion and secrets intermingled, and where every tender kiss was both a gift and a question waiting to be answered. As I left the studio that night, the cool Seattle air felt charged with possibility and the weight of undisclosed truths. I couldn't shake the image of that small photograph, nor the mysterious ring on his hand. With every heartbeat, I felt the dual pull of newfound passion and the cautious whisper of responsibility. In that delicate balance, I stood on the threshold of something both exhilarating and perilous, wondering if the blooming connection might one day reveal a secret that could shatter the fragile peace of my carefully arranged life. In the days following our tender coffee meetings and quiet walks under Seattle's gentle drizzle, the warmth of my connection with Adrian began to stir questions I couldn't ignore. Every time I caught a glimpse of that small photograph peeking from his wallet or the subtle ring on his finger, my heart fluttered with both longing and uncertainty. I found myself replaying our moments together. The lingering kiss, the way his hand brushed my waist, as if searching for clues hidden within our shared intimacy. One cool evening I returned to his studio, determined to quell the growing doubts that haunted me. The studio, usually alive with soft light and whispered creative energy, seemed heavy with secrets. As we settled into our usual corner with the city's muted glow filtering through the windows, I gently broached the subject. Adrian, I began hesitantly, I've noticed something in your wallet. There's a picture of a woman and a little girl. And the ring on your finger. Could you tell me more about your family? His smile faltered and a brief shadow crossed his eyes. For a moment, the gentle cadence of our conversation wavered. His response was careful, almost measured. I do have a family, he admitted, voice low and laced with regret. But it's complicated. His words, though few, sent a chill through me, and the tender intimacy we had built seemed to tremble under the weight of that revelation. In that silent pause, I felt a surge of conflicting emotions. Part of me longed to hold on to the magic of our connection, while another part recoiled at the thought of being entangled in a secret life. The questions multiplied in my mind as I struggled to reconcile the passionate moments we had shared with the reality of his hidden commitments. Could our blossoming connection have been built on a foundation of unspoken truths? Over the following days, the studio's soft light and the echoes of our laughter became bittersweet reminders of what might be. A love tinged with both possibility and inevitable heartache. My work, once a sanctuary of creativity as an interior designer, now felt like a blank canvas for my turbulent thoughts. I found myself caught in a silent internal battle, the yearning for renewal and the dawning realization that I was stepping into a maze of secrets and emotional turmoil. As night fell and I lay awake in my quiet apartment, the weight of Adrian's confession pressed heavily upon me. I knew I needed answers, yet I feared the truth that might shatter the fragile hope I had dared to nurture. In that fragile space between desire and duty, I resolved that I could no longer live in uncertainty. Tomorrow I would confront these hidden truths, even if it meant facing a future that might be more painful than I ever imagined. And so, with the echoes of our last shared kiss still warming my skin, I prepared myself for the inevitable reckoning, knowing that the path ahead would test the very core of my heart. Thank you for listening to the story so far. Your encouragement means a lot to me. Please comment and share your thoughts here. I love you and I am so grateful to have you on this journey with me to explore the story further. The following morning, a chill settled over Seattle, not from the rain, but from the weight of Adrian's confession. I awoke in a restless sleep, his earlier words echoing through my mind. In the quiet solitude of my apartment, I turned over every tender moment we had shared against the backdrop of his hidden truths. The soft memory of his embrace and lingering kiss mingled with a gnawing uncertainty. Was my heart ready to bear the cost of this forbidden connection? Determined to seek clarity, I returned to his studio later that day. The space, usually a haven of creative light and candid laughter, felt heavy with unspoken questions. Adrian greeted me with a hesitant smile that faltered the moment our eyes met. The gentle warmth in his gaze was now overshadowed by a vulnerability that I hadn't seen before. Adrian, I began softly, the words trembling on my lips. I need to understand. Last night, when you mentioned your family, what does that really mean? My voice was barely above a whisper, laden with both longing and apprehension. For a moment, time seemed to slow. He looked down, fingers fidgeting with a small silver ring that I'd noticed earlier. Maya, he replied, his tone conflicted. I never meant to hurt you. I have a wife and a daughter. It's complicated. Something I've been trying to sort out for a long time. His admission cut through the fragile space between us like a shard of ice. My heart pounded in my chest, and for a moment, I felt the familiar warmth of his touch recede as reality sank in. All those stolen kisses, the gentle brush of his hand along my waist, and the nights we spent wrapped in each other's arms, were they built on a lie? Or was this the honest confession of a man torn between duty and desire? Silence filled the studio as the rain pattered softly against the window. I struggled to reconcile the tender connection that had sparked a new hope within me with the bitter truth of his commitments. Every fiber of my being longed to believe in the magic of our union. Yet I couldn't ignore the shadows creeping in, the doubts that whispered of betrayal and heartache. In that charged moment, Adrian stepped closer. His eyes, brimming with remorse, searched mine for forgiveness. I never intended to deceive you, Maya. Every touch, every shared smile, it was real. I'm caught between two worlds, and I'm so sorry if I've hurt you. His words, raw and unguarded, sent a jolt through me. I reached out, hesitating as I placed a trembling hand on his arm. The warmth of his skin under my palm stirred a deep longing within me, a desperate desire to hold on to the fleeting passion we had kindled. Yet, the truth was an unyielding barrier that now separated us. My mind raced with conflicting emotions. The yearning to embrace this newfound intimacy, and the realization that continuing down this path could shatter not only our lives, but the delicate balance we had both been striving to rebuild. Tears welled in my eyes as I stepped back, distancing myself both physically and emotionally. I need time, Adrian, I whispered, my voice cracking with vulnerability. I need to understand what this means for both of us, and for you, for your family. The words hung in the air, heavy with the promise of a reckoning that neither of us had anticipated. As I left the studio, the cool Seattle air embraced me, and I felt both the sting of sorrow and the flicker of hope. In the silence of that moment, I knew that the road ahead would be fraught with difficult choices. The tender connection we had shared would now be measured against the weight of hidden truths, and my heart would have to decide whether to chase the allure of renewal or protect the remnants of a life I thought I knew. That day, as dusk settled over the city, I walked alone, each step echoing with the gravity of my choices. I couldn't help but wonder if this reckoning was the beginning of an inevitable heartbreak, or the painful catalyst for a transformation that might ultimately lead me to rediscover the person I was meant to be. In the days that followed our heart-wrenching revelation, I found myself caught in a relentless inner battle. Every tender memory of Adrian's touch mingled with a deep, gnawing guilt. I wandered through my days as an interior designer with my creative spirit dulled by the weight of his secret, a secret that now cast long shadows over every intimate thought. My nights, once filled with peaceful sleep, were now restless, haunted by dreams where love and betrayal entwined in confusing patterns. Late one rainy evening, after a particularly long day at work where the colors of my designs seemed muted and lifeless, I received a soft message from Adrian. He asked if we could meet at a quiet little bistro tucked away from the city's relentless buzz. A place where the rain could whisper secrets and the darkness could cradle our shared sorrow. Torn between my resolve to hold on to the truth and the irresistible pull of his presence, I agreed. At the bistro, under the dim glow of vintage chandeliers and the soft murmur of distant conversations, our eyes met with a mix of longing and despair. The air was thick with unspoken emotions, and as we talked, the conversation drifted from cautious confessions to vulnerable admissions of loneliness and desire. Every word exchanged carried the weight of our mistakes, yet also the undeniable pull of a passion that had rekindled something within us both. Before we knew it, the delicate barriers we had constructed began to crumble. In a quiet corner away from prying eyes, Adrian reached out, his hand finding its way to my waist. I felt his touch, a blend of reassurance and yearning, as if it promised to hold the fragments of my shattered heart together, even if only for a fleeting moment. Our lips met in a kiss that was both tender and tumultuous, a silent apology wrapped in the language of desire. In that embrace, I felt a storm of conflicting emotions, a desperate need to feel alive and the bitter awareness of the cost that this stolen intimacy demanded. As the night deepened, we sought refuge in the quiet privacy of a nearby hotel lounge. Wrapped in each other's arms on a worn, inviting couch, we allowed the exhaustion of our hearts to merge with the comfort of shared warmth. There, in the soft glow of a bedside lamp and the hushed whispers of rain against the window, we drifted into sleep, a delicate interlude where passion momentarily drowned out our doubts. In that vulnerable slumber, I clung to the memory of his embrace, even as my mind screamed warnings of the inevitable consequences. But even as dawn crept through the curtains, mingling the promise of a new day with the heavy truth of our actions, I knew that this delicate embrace was a bittersweet solace, a transient moment where desire and despair danced together, leaving me to wonder whether our passion could ever outshine the hidden truths that had irrevocably changed everything. I awoke in the quiet aftermath of our passionate night, a soft golden light filtering through the hotel curtains, mingling with the lingering warmth of Adrian's embrace. For a long moment I lay there, heart pounding in my chest, as memories of our tender kiss and the closeness we'd shared enveloped me. My body remembered the gentle pressure of his hand on my waist, and the soothing rhythm of our shared sleep, yet every caress carried with it a heavy burden of guilt and uncertainty. As I slowly disentangled myself from his arms, the reality of our situation came crashing down. The soft echo of his whispered apologies from the previous night, the confession of his family, his wife and daughter, reminded me that our connection, as intoxicating as it was built on a foundation of secrets. I found myself caught in a storm of conflicting emotions, the undeniable pull of his touch and the bittersweet taste of our stolen intimacy versus the moral lines I could no longer ignore. Later that morning, while the hotel room was still hushed by the early light, I sat by the window with a cup of lukewarm coffee, staring out at a city that seemed oblivious to the turmoil raging within me. Each sip reminded me of the delicate balance I had to maintain, a balance between the comfort of Adrian's affection and the painful truth of his hidden life. I couldn't shake the image of his trembling confession or the soft, remorseful look in his eyes as he admitted his complicated situation. It was as if every memory of his warmth clashed with the reality of his commitment to another family. I spent the rest of the day in a quiet haze, my thoughts oscillating between longing and dread. At work, as I immersed myself in the intricate details of my latest interior design project, every color and shape became a metaphor for my fractured emotions. I kept recalling the way Adrian's hand had gently rested on my waist, the echo of his kiss in the silent pauses of our conversation, and the vulnerability that had so freely passed between us. But those moments were now tainted with the stark awareness that his heart belonged partly to someone else. By evening, the inner turmoil had grown too intense to ignore. I sat alone in my small apartment in Seattle, the familiar urban sounds outside contrasting sharply with the stillness inside me. I replayed every moment of our encounter, each gentle touch and whispered word, and wondered if I was chasing a fantasy that could only lead to heartbreak. The passion we'd kindled was real, but so was the pain of the secret we now carried together. In that heavy silence, I understood that the path ahead would demand difficult choices. My heart ached with the desire to cling to the tender memories, yet my conscience urged me to step back and reassess everything. As the night deepened, I made a quiet vow to myself. I would seek clarity about what this connection truly meant, even if it meant confronting the parts of me I had long kept hidden. The inner turmoil was fierce, but I knew that understanding its depths was the only way to find a resolution that wouldn't leave both of us lost in a maze of guilt and longing. That night, the storm of my emotions reached its peak. After days of silent torment and restless introspection, I knew I could no longer live in the gray area between passion and betrayal. I arranged to meet Adrian one last time at his studio, a space that had once pulsed with creative warmth and tender secrets, but now felt heavy with the burden of hidden truths. Under the muted glow of studio lights, our eyes met with a sorrowful clarity. I spoke first, my voice trembling as I laid bare the conflict that had consumed me. Adrian, every moment with you has awakened something in me that I thought was lost. Yet I cannot ignore the truth. You're committed to another life, and I can't be the refuge for your secret. I felt your touch, your kiss, and for a while it filled a void. But I can't live in this half-light, knowing we are tearing apart pieces of our own integrity. His face fell, a storm of regret and conflict playing across his features. He reached out slowly, as if to recapture the intimacy we'd shared just days before. Maya, I never meant for you to get hurt. Every gentle caress, every stolen kiss. They were real, but I'm torn between two worlds. I'm so sorry that my heart has become a battleground. In that charged silence, I recalled the softness of his hand on my waist, the way our shared sleep had offered a brief escape from our loneliness. Yet the weight of that forbidden intimacy pressed down on me now with unbearable clarity. I let my fingers brush against his one last time. A tender farewell that spoke of both gratitude and the painful need to reclaim myself. I cannot continue in this shadow, Adrian, I whispered, my eyes glistening with both sorrow and resolve. I deserve to be loved openly without the constant ache of secrets. And you, I owe it to you and your family to live honestly. Our parting embrace was bittersweet. It was an embrace not of passion, but of mutual understanding, a final silent acknowledgement that our connection, however transformative, could not outlast the truth. As I stepped out into the cool Seattle night, I felt an odd mixture of heartbreak and liberation. Walking home under a sky studded with distant stars, I realized that this reckoning was both an end and a beginning. I was choosing to honor my own worth and the integrity of my heart, even if it meant letting go of a love that had sparked something beautiful amid the ruins of my past. In that quiet moment of finality, I resolved to embark on a journey of healing and self-discovery, knowing that sometimes the hardest choices pave the way for true renewal. And that's it for today's story. I'd love to hear what you think. Leave a comment below and share your feelings. Did you relate to any of the characters? Or if you were in their shoes, what decisions would you make? I'd love to hear from all of you. Don't forget to hit the like button if you enjoyed the video, and if you didn't, hit one. Subscribe so you don't miss out on more great content. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Have a great day.